Previously on Gears.
Extraordinary, epic, eventful, dramatic. A couple of words that could be used to explain the Formula One season of 2012. Did you watch the race, Daisy?
I did.
Insane, eh?
It was not the outcome I wanted, but anyway, brilliant race. Well done to Vettel.
Well done. Sebastian Vettel, 3 times world champion. Only 2 other drivers in the history of Formula One have achieved 3 championships in a row. Michael Schumacher and Juan Manuel Fangio. There are other drivers who got 3 championships as well. Niki Lauda, Jackie Stewart, Ayrton Senna, Alain Prost. Who else, Gary?
I'm trying to think. Fittipaldi only had 2, hey?
Fittipaldi had
right.
2, Clark had 2.
Yeah.
Graham Hill?
No, one. Graham Hill. I don't actually know, but it's not that many. That's the bottom line. Yeah,
not a lot of people. And if you look at the caliber of the drivers on the grid, from next year we lose Schumacher, and Vettel will be the only one with 3.
Yeah, that's right. But it's in 3 in 5 years as well.
That's incredible.
That is unbelievable.
It is incredible. Welcome to Gary Formato. We were in the studio last night. We couldn't believe what we were watching. The turn 4, Vettel getting knocked. It was mental.
Look, what was the emotions were running high, to say the least. It was unbelievable. I don't think I sat down for that entire Grand Prix last night, but we thought something was going to happen. The week in the build-up to the Grand Prix, you sort of believed that there was going to be action. We didn't know where or how it was going to come. The rain was going to come, then it wasn't going to come down. Then it came down at the beginning of the race, and then Vettel, as you say, got taken off. Managed to keep the car running, keep it all in one piece, and for some, I don't know whatever you want to call it, but pure luck, the car wasn't damaged or not damaged enough to make any difference to his speed.
Can I tell you, when we saw that happen to Vettel, my brother and I were fist pumping, giving high fives, we were going ballistic, screaming, and then he just turned around and carried on. I thought he was done.
I think a lot of people had that emotion, and other people must have been, oh no, it's over, it's over. And it just shows you it's just not over until the final lap. And in this instance, until the safety car, because you still had 1 lap or 2 laps to go, 1.5 laps to go. Anything could have still happened. We saw it in 2008. But let's first talk about the race yesterday. It had everything. It had all of the drama that you could have wanted and expected. A great worthy winner, you got to say, in Jenson Button.
I think so, and it was such an important win for Jenson as well. I mean, he is the team leader now going into next season. I think it's critical for him to have won that Grand Prix yesterday, and I think just boost the whole of McLaren really, to say, guys, you've got me on board here. We can win Grand Prix and win this title next year. So it was a great win, and also he drove. He was quick. He pushed Lewis Hamilton. He overtook Lewis Hamilton for the lead in a straight fight. And until the issue of the safety car, I mean, really had that race, I think, wrapped up.
Yeah, I think so. Also, he is just brilliant in those kind of conditions, Gary. Probably very few comes close to him when it's that slippery kind of circuit.
Yes, and I think it's because of his finesse. He's very smooth in the car, very smooth on the accelerator. So obviously in the tricky conditions, that's what you need. I mean, he is a master of that, and certainly worked well, and just found the grip on the slick tyres as well, which was amazing. I mean, everybody else running the same tyres as intermediates at some points in the race on the slick tyre. I mean, that was really good.
But you've got to say, also equally as good on those slick tyres was Nico Hülkenberg, who drove until the incident with Lewis, was driving the race of his career.
Well, he's obviously a bit of a Brazilian or Interlagos specialist. I mean, the last time he raced with the Williams team, he was on pole position, did pretty well. And yesterday, he took off. I mean, he was gone, and onto the McLarens, past the McLarens. It was really unbelievable. I mean, at the end of the day, you've got to remember, he's still only in a Force India. It's not a McLaren or a Red Bull or a Ferrari even.
Incredible from Hülkenberg. At the start, before we went on air, we said a couple of things, and the one was Vettel hadn't qualified that low for quite a long time. Besides starting from the pit lane in Abu Dhabi, he wouldn't have to worry about first corner stuff, so that was okay. And the one thing that we did say is you can't afford to be too tentative, and that's what happened.
I think it was. Looking at it again as well, you could see that he didn't want to get involved in any first corner incidents. Elected to let Weber rather go around him on the outside there, backed off, but then he lost the place to Hulkenberg as well, and it started going backwards from there. Already the Ferraris had passed him, and that was a big issue. It probably put him in a place where he didn't need to be, really around Senna, Maldonado. It's going to be crazy stuff down in the middle of the pack, and the worst thing for him possibly happened. The luck obviously was that the car wasn't damaged, but yes, it could so easily have gone wrong at that point in time. And had he just got ahead of Weber and just got stuck in at the start, he wouldn't have been in that position.
Yeah, he wouldn't have been there. So eventually the race, safety car incident comes out. All of a sudden we get Hamilton and Hulkenberg going hammer and tongs for it. Hulkenberg goes on a lunge in the inside into the first corner in the S-bend. A bit of a racing incident, Gary.
Yeah, I don't think it was his fault, to be honest with you. I mean, you've got to understand, on the slick tyre, which they were on at that point in time, if my memory serves me correct, but you're outbraking somebody off the cleaner side of the circuit. You turn it wasn't that he was doing some
Yeah, exactly.
He turned in there, and I think he also had that down change issue with the gearbox, and it's basically how it would feel if you're in the car is if you've changed down the gear and then somebody stabbed the accelerator for you again. Your car would obviously lurch forward, and that's kind of what was happening to his car yesterday. So he turned in, and it obviously snatched the rear wheels, and it spun him around. So it wasn't his fault. I don't think he wanted to try and do it. He wasn't overcommitted. It was just disappointing. I think a pure racing incident.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, listen, he got a drive-through penalty for that, and I suppose in a way he's sad for Lewis because his last race in McLaren didn't want it to end that way. Although you got to believe that there must have been quite a few people at McLaren who are quite happy that Jensen won the race and not Lewis.
No, I think so. Not least of all Jensen Button and the entire team that works in his car, for sure. They want to keep it in-house. So, the win for Jensen Button was more important than I think any of us actually realise.
Yeah, a very, very important win. Elevated Fernando Alonso up to second place, the incident with Hulkenberg and Lewis. From there, so a little bit of luck that helped Alonso, but it moves everybody up the timesheets. Vettel came in, changed tyres, put the wrong tyres in, came again, got the right tyres on, and eventually, I wouldn't say, I mean, listen, I think he was going to win the championship, he was going to get the position in any case. He was sort of gifted the position by Michael Schumacher going up the long, after turn 4. It was a strange move.
Well, I must say, I expected it. When we spoke about it in the studio yesterday as well, I said, well, here he comes up to Schumacher. I said, well, he's going to let him through. And I think it was almost, there goes Vettel and opening up his rite of passage, if you like. You know what I mean? Yeah. From the top man in F1 now to the new youngster. Of course, both being German. I mean, it was going to happen all the time. But I think the big thing was that the fact that Sebastian Vettel's radio communication was sticky yesterday. The team couldn't hear him. They could could only speak to him. And that's probably why you had the issue with the tyres. But it was it was actually a big mistake that it could have worked out badly for them. It didn't in the end, but it just shows you things have got to go your way. But it was action packed,
and you've got to take you know what, with everything, with the drama that happened yesterday, you've got to take your hat off to the likes of Alonso, because Alonso just did what he had to do. A podium was what he needed. He was in second. He drove his guts out. He had a protector in Massa behind him, but Vettel also drove the wheels off that Red Bull.
He did. I mean, the end of the race, a second a lap faster than everybody else, and the team coming on a number of times saying, listen, you're a second a lap faster, and I can tell you right now, he was comfortable doing those lap times, otherwise he would have slowed down. So it just shows you what he had in that car and what he had in himself yesterday. And there was a big debate before the race whether who'd chosen the rain setup, who hadn't chosen the rain setup. Their cars were the slowest in the straight, and we believed that going into the race that they probably had the right setup, and they did. So they had every event covered yesterday as well. So they also did their job, did everything they needed to do. That's sport. That was the competition.
Well, that is it. It is sport, and you got to. I mean, throughout the whole of last night, just following on social media, you had people who were going, "Oh, geez, this didn't work out, and that didn't work out." It's done. And you and I were discussing it last night, going, why does this matter so much to us? We got no, direct impact or knowledge or whatever with these people, yet we get so emotional.
Oh, that's the beauty of sport, and I think it's any sport that you're involved in. I mean, it's a passionate environment. It gives people, tremendous joy. I mean, look at us all last night, running around there. It's just fantastic. I mean, I think Fernando Alonso is probably over it already. He's probably sitting somewhere on his private yacht or taking a flight in his private plane somewhere and gone for lunch with his girlfriend. So, they'll get back up next year.
She's beautiful.
No, she is. She's
wow.
Very cracker.
Wow.
Crazy. You like me a lot. Sorry. Yeah. No, but you are right. I mean, he will be hurt by it. but he'll also be damn proud of what he's done. And just staying on Ferrari for a second, Gary, Alonso did the most extraordinary season I've ever seen in a Formula One racing driver. Ferrari unfortunately let him down.
No, they did, right from the start. And I think by their own admission at Ferrari at the beginning, they knew that they had a car that was very difficult to get right. And Fernando Alonso never gave up. I think that was the big thing for me. It didn't matter what the car was doing, how bad the car was. They were 2 seconds a lap off the pace in pre-season testing. I mean, that's 2 seconds is where
HRT was.
HRT, exactly. Yeah. So they were nowhere. Managed to pick up the pieces and fight for the championship. I think that in itself was just absolutely unbelievable. I think for what it's done in that team as well, it's just shown that no matter what comes their way, they're going to fight for this thing. And I think the advantage of this car this year was that they found out so early on that the car was a dog.
Yeah.
And they would have started working in January already. Of course, they normally do, but I think even harder on getting the 2013 car sorted out.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. And, don't take it the wrong way. When I say that Ferrari let him down, the car was inherently, it was born not so well. But they did work incredibly hard to keep him in the championship, although the biggest issue that they had was 1 lap pace. In qualifying, and because of that, he never had a chance to sit there and go out in the front and actually dominate a race. Yes, he won some races, but you look at the 3 races that he won, all sort of wettish conditions. Some things had to happen for him. In straight dry conditions, they didn't have a chance.
No, they didn't have the pace at the beginning, but I mean, if you look at what he's done at the starts this year, for example, and you just got to understand, if they do give Fernando Alonso a half-decent car, you know what I mean?
He could walk a championship.
He could indeed.
Yeah, I mean, just amazing. Looking back, Gary, over the season, it just has been an extraordinary season. 7 winners in the first 7 races. And then it sort of balanced itself out. Then we had this sort of gap that Fernando had, and then the clawback, the fight back from Red Bull was just astonishing as well.
Yeah, it was. Look, when they got the car on song and Sebastian Vettel got it together, I mean, he was unbeatable. And we saw the whole of last year. It was the scenario, but he was incredibly quick. Nobody could match him for anything. Even Mark Webber was just nowhere to be seen. So yes, I mean, you got to commend them for that. Adrian Newey for all the hard work. I mean, another one that doesn't ever give up, always trying to find a way to make that car go faster. And when it hits the sweet spot, it's unbeatable. Yeah. And it's largely down to Adrian Newey. But he's got to have a driver that gives him feedback from the car to be able to interpret all that information, and he's got that in Vettel.
For sure. I mean, that Red Bull team is quite extraordinary. Webber is not one to give out compliments very easily, but came out and said Vettel is now in a club of his own.
Yeah.
He's an extraordinary person, extraordinary racing driver. And you know what, from a racing driver perspective, to say that about somebody else, I think is great humility.
Well, exactly. But I also think it's that the comment was made a little easier by the fact that now you're racing, your teammate is one of the greats in Formula 1. It's undisputed now. He is one of the greats in Formula 1.
Sure.
So you've got to adopt the attitude of, well, I may just be the second best driver in Formula 1. It's still a lot better than everybody else.
It was like Eddie Irvine.
Yeah, exactly.
In his Ferrari days. He was the second best driver in the world. I think what could be rather interesting, Gary, the FIA awards, when they hand out the trophy, Formula 1 World Champion and Red Bull will get the Constructors' Championship. I wouldn't be surprised if Driver of the Year goes to Fernando Alonso.
No, I wouldn't be surprised at all. And in fact,
I would be actually disappointed if it didn't.
So would I. I mean, if it's take a poll between all the drivers on the F1 grid, I have no doubt that they would vote for Fernando Alonso. I think because of the fact that he had such a difficult car to work with, because of the fact that he never gave up, the way his mental approach was towards the season, it's something that you hardly ever see in Formula 1. I mean, it really was something unbelievable. And I think a lot of young drivers can look up to Fernando Alonso and say, well, there, in my opinion, is the complete racing driver's driver.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would expect it.
Do you think, from your perspective, was there a turning point in the season where all of a sudden you went, whoa, okay?
I think there were two. I think it was the first issue was the big crash at Spa, when Fernando Alonso was taken out by Romain Grosjean. And the other one was when the Red Bull did hit the sweet spot and started to run away from everybody. I think those are the two defining moments. Yeah, Suzuka to a large degree, but the first one was definitely Spa.
Yeah, very much a turning point was no points at Spa for Fernando Alonso. Well, I got to say, the longest ever season, in my opinion, the best season I've ever watched. And been part of. Both of them thoroughly deserve the championship, but only one can win, and Vettel just had that little bit more.
He did. The best package won the deal at the end of the day.
Yeah, it was extraordinary. Anyway, so well, hopefully we'll be bringing it next year.
Well, let's hope so. Let's hope so.
You know, because I think we did okay. One of those, don't you think, Daisy?
Definitely.
I think we did okay.
Definitely.
So I mean, it'll be fun to be there next year as well. Gary's always been great with the insights and those kind of things. I'm sure we'll chat very, very soon.
Yeah, great. And thanks for having me on the show throughout the year. Thank you.
No, our pleasure. There we go.
At the next intersection, turn on
Gears with Sasha Martingno.
weekdays from 12 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.